Papa Ken Media.
Hey everyone, it's Blurryphoenix here, and I have with me a very special guest.
Hey, it's D10 Chick from Papa Ken Media.
Hey everyone, so, we are actually going to be doing a, first impressions video of RWBY. It's a new production from Rooster Teeth Productions, who most of you probably know from Red vs. Blue. So, anyway, this is a Monty Ohm production. Some of you probably have seen him before, and maybe known his name. I've really only known him through, he started doing some Red vs. Blue animations last season, and like I said, this is actually his production of RWBY. Tracy, would you like to give me a little history on Monty and what he did before he came to Rooster Teeth?
I think where most people are probably going to remember him from is the very popular YouTube series Dead Fantasy, which was essentially taking all of the Final Fantasy characters you could possibly imagine and putting them into combat scenarios while sort of a silent storytelling going on into kind of explaining what was happening between characters' interactions and causing the fights. I know that I used to sit and watch with bated breath for the next episode to come out. And just now have discovered, hey, look, he's doing RWBY. He's, according to Wikipedia, he's been doing fan videos for as early as 2002. And taking a look, he also, interestingly enough, he was hired by Namco Games as a combat designer and animator for Afro Samurai, which is very cool.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that either.
So he's definitely someone who has developed a very particular style in terms of how he animates combat and provides not only very good storytelling within this combat, but also provides, you know, kind of that shiny, happy, flashy violence, if you will, that people want to see when they watch anime a lot of the time. You know, but at the same point, there's a real sense of style to it. So it's not messy, sloppy. There's a lot of finesse and really, honestly, aesthetic beauty to how his characters will fight. And that was seen a lot in the Dead Fantasy series. And I also have this impression from his latest series, too.
Oh, definitely. You can definitely see his fighting style in both RWBY and RWBY on my end, too. Like I said, I first came across Monty when he started animating for Red vs. Blue, and I think it was season 9, I want to say. He started doing a couple things, and it was the first time Rooster Teeth actually took Red vs. Blue and pulled it out of the game engine and started doing outside animations with it. And I remember basically gasping and screaming at the screen when the Warthog drove through the wall, which, as most of you know who play Halo, is not physically possible. Haha. I just made a reference to episode, 2. Anyway. So, RWBY stars 4 characters, and their first names all spell out RWBY, R-W-B-Y, not R-U-B-Y. It stars Ruby Rose, Weiss Shani, Blake, and Yang. And if you watch the trailers at the beginning, you find out that Yang and RWBY are actually sisters. So, they've only put out 8 episodes of RWBY so far, so this is definitely going to be a first impressions video and not a full-blown review, considering they haven't even finished the volume yet. But they are planning on doing, I believe 16 episodes was the last I heard, so they still have a little ways to go. So I guess we're going to start off with what we liked about it. Would you like to start it off?
Sure. This definitely is fangirl candy for me. And when I say that, it's the type of thing that makes myself, a 33-year-old woman, squee with delight. I really enjoy overall again, I mentioned the stylization of the combat scenes. I really enjoy those, especially when he put out the trailers, it was especially evident that the combat scenes were going to be entertaining and that it wasn't going to be something like, oh my god, it's like watching Dragon Ball Z where you've died and reanimated in the time that a combat has taken place. Mm-hmm. You stay interested, you stay focused. I also enjoy just kind of the overall character design. I like that you can definitely pinpoint which character is not only speaking, but their different personality quirks. You're getting
definitely.
You get that in the very first thing, which is good to be able to recognize the character automatically. I would agree that the first 8 episodes are more of a prologue than anything else. I can't say ultimately, oh my god, I'm completely in love with this series, because it wouldn't be a fair assessment at this point. That said, my interest is piqued, and I definitely, have a motivation to continue to look for more episodes and look forward to what's coming on. Also, just as a random fact, it looks like Crunchyroll is going to be also playing out the series too, which is going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw that they were listed at 3rd for a little while.
That sounds cool. So how did you feel about the series?
So I definitely have to agree with the fighting. The fighting is pretty much what keeps you involved into it. I personally really like the characters. Like, I just kind of like where they're going with them, and like you had said, being able to identify who's talking, and they may not be on screen, but you can just know based off of their personality. The story, like, I can't guarantee that I'm going to like it. I like where it's going, just from the first 8 episodes, but outside of that, I mean, the end of the series could flop, but I usually hold faith with Rooster Teeth, just because their season finales for Red vs. Blue and any of the other series that they've done has usually ended very, very, very well. And the weapons. I don't know what you thought of them, but I know I heard a podcast where Monty was talking about the weapons of RWBY and how they spent more time designing the 4 weapons for RWBY, Weiss, Blake, and Yang than they did on the first episode. Which, if any of you out there who have watched it, the first episode is probably 12 to 15 minutes long. And any of you who've tried animating, you know how long that normally takes. So, I definitely appreciated it, and almost all of the weapons have a secondary purpose. For instance, RWBY's weapon is a scythe with a rifle, and Yang has gauntlets that are a shotgun. They sound ridiculous, but they're really cool in practice.
And what's kind of nice about the weapons is that again, going back to kind of the characterization, you can see how it kind of fits with each character's dynamic. What I'm reminded of a lot in this is Soul Eater, where you have certain characters like in Soul Eater, if you've ever seen the series, it's a very much kind of the same premise. It's characters who are in a school to learn how to fight things. Except in Soul Eater, the people are, in fact, the weapons. They can change into the weapons. But you get characters who, they match their weapons. Like, in Soul Eater, there's Kid Death, who's, the son of the Reaper, and he's very OCD. Everything has to be balanced and symmetrical, so he ends up with 2 guns, or 2 chicks who can turn into guns. And that works, because for him, he can't just use one weapon, because having his hands out of whack, just mentally stresses him out.
Yeah.
And I kind of see that playing here with RWBY with her scythe, I mean, it makes sense because I don't want to give too many spoilers, but with her characterization and just kind of the way she's going to develop, I have a feeling it makes sense that we're dealing with essentially something that in both forms can be a ranged weapon.
Definitely.
The scythe is, you're not getting close to her with it.
No, not at all. Sorry, go ahead.
And also, I appreciate with her sister, who's definitely kind of like the firecracker of the group. Her weapons do that. Mm-hmm. Blow everything up.
And if you cut any part of her hair, she freaks.
That's one thing I wanted to touch upon just real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Kind of like the slapstick quality that comes into play with some of the storytelling. Having, hair out of place after a fight, that's something that is, in anime you see a lot as a comic tool. And it's cute, but what I also appreciated was, I don't want to give any spoilers, but there's this scene where everything's kind of happening at once. And then while the characters are talking in the background, you can see one of the characters running away from some horrific monster while they're all just kind of standing there, like, what do we do? And, it's just like that moment of like, okay, good. They do know how to break up like that constant fighting with something that you can kind of chuckle at. And you see that a lot in the dialogue, too. There's a couple of one-liners in there that are quite amusing.
Definitely. So I think do you have any more likes that you could think of?
Nope.
All right, then. So we're going to move on with things that we dislike. I guess we can't really say dislike because I really think it's a good show, but it's just things that didn't quite work the way that I saw it. I have to say that the voice acting could fall flat at points.
Aren't you a little young to be in this club, Blondie?
If you saw the trailers, granted, I know they're trailers and I know they're brand new voice actors and actresses, but there were a few points where they were almost cringeworthy. And then, kind of going along with the dialogue, it's the anime. Monty is fantastic at action sequences, but just sitting around and talking still don't quite work with me. But I know that that'll be improved with time.
Aren't you a little old to have a name like Junior?
Yeah, that's kind of my main thing.
I can't say too much. I think her name's Pura or Pyra. It's her name's spelled with a Y, so I want to say Pyra, but I think it's Pura.
I think Purus. I think it's Pura.
Yeah, Purus. And her voice, the way her voice comes out falls very flat for me, and I'm hoping that maybe that's just kind of more of a deliberate characterization. So I'm not going to judge too harshly. I'm hoping maybe they'll give more life to it, especially since, from what I can tell and from what we've seen, these are not experienced voice actors, so let's give some credence there. In terms of the dialogue, what was actually being said didn't bother me too much. As I said, there's some one-liners in there that I appreciated and thought were pretty funny. And again, I mean, it was kind of the more slapsticky type thing in a verbal sense, but I appreciated some of the things that were said. I will say that I'm going to try really hard not to get annoyed with Jean. He's a character who I'm like, oh, I could see him really likable, but I don't know if you're familiar with Sailor Moon, but
yeah.
As much fun as that series is, unfortunately, it's a series that I have a hard time watching just because the voice acting's so god-awful irritating. I mean, I can't watch something that makes me feel like, oh, look, I'm now getting the feeling of fingernails against a chalkboard.
Yeah. I have a lot of nostalgia to that, but after looking back at it a couple times, yeah, I can definitely see where that's coming from.
Yeah, and, so, I mean, the other thing is that in, kind of the overall scene setting, there was this one weird point when they're getting to this temple, and I don't know if it was maybe just kind of bad camera angles, but there was just this point where the temple, looked way too small for the characters at one point. It almost looked like they were kind of like, it was almost like a video game glitch where, like, you know, they're walking on top of what they should not be walking. Yeah. It just kind of came off as a weird camera angle, and that just could be, you know, kind of, they're doing a lot of complex animation.
Definitely.
So, again, it was just kind of that moment of a weird camera angle. Those would be, like, the only, you know, negatives I have at this point. I think overwhelmingly, you know, if they can keep at the momentum they have, they're going to have a really good series on their hands. It's just kind of that matter of, okay, keep the momentum, don't, you know, don't go down crappy creek, please.
Mm-hmm. And I can see just the improvement from episode 1 to episode 8. So I really think it's just the inexperience that the team has where it's just going to get better with time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I have.
And that would kind of bring us to our final question, and I think we're both obviously in agreement. We're both going to continue watching this and seeing where this goes, and hope to God it's awesome.
Definitely. I mean, like I said before, I love what Rooster Teeth puts out, and just the fact that, I mean, if you watch the first few episodes of Red vs. Blue, even if you go back and watch them, they're not done very well. The dialogue is slow. I mean, you have the one-liners that everyone will remember, but it's done very slow. It's some of the camera shots, which, like I said before, that was done in-game, so they had limitations, but some of the camera shots could be kind of wonky and things like that. But now they've done it they're working on their 11th season now, and it's infinitely better.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I can say for Rooster Teeth is that they know what they're doing. I mean, there's very few websites that have such a long, lengthy animation history and have subsisted as well as they have. So they know their business, they know what they're doing. So it's just kind of, you know, hopefully Monty has a really good mentor taking him under wing and saying, hey, here's all your skill, let's direct it. I will say that as a critic, folks, I try and be fair and objective. I try and be nice because I never want to go out to attack individuals.
So, I guess that's our first impressions of it. So, again, thanks for watching, and I'm Blurryphoenix.
And I'm the D10 Chick.
And we'll see you on the next reviews.
Absolutely.